Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the BenchWire podcast. We got a lot to talk about. We got to recap week 5, as we always do. And we got a lot to talk about, a lot of drama as well that went down this week. So we'll get into it. And once again, I'm joined by my co host, Justin. How's it going today, Justin?
It's going all right. We're recording this the day of the Phillies getting knocked out, so I'm a little bit bummed out about that. But hey, at
Yeah.
least we got football, right?
Yeah, we
Woohoo!
got football to talk about. Get us off that
Yes, sir.
topic
Yes, sir.
there. Yeah, it was just sad, disappointing way they lost. But
You
enough of
asked
them.
me how I felt. You asked me how I felt. I had to be honest. I never
Yeah,
lied to Benchwire,
yeah.
the Benchwire fan.
We're all disappointed as Phillies fans. But we could start with talking about New York and how well they're doing, right? The Mets just won. They're moving on. And the Giants, they pulled off an upset. They beat the Seattle
They
Seahawks
did.
at Seattle, got the job done. Backs against the wall. Malik Neighbors wasn't playing. Devin Singletary was out as well. And some guys had to step up, and that's what they did. Daniel Jones looked great in this game. He did what he had to do, was a game manager yet again. The defense was great as well. They had a total of 7 sacks. They lead the league in sacks. Wandale stepped up. Darius Slayton stepped up. Tyrone Tracy, the rookie running back, 5th rounder out of Purdue, had a big day in his first start, over 130 rushing yards. So the Giants look good. And yeah, they surprised a lot of people. They surprised me, especially as a Giants fan. So happy they could pull out with the win. Brian Dable looks good calling the offense. And Daniel Jones, ever since week 1, he's been turning the page and he's looking decent. He's looking like a average starter right now, not turning the ball over. That's all we ask, to not turn the ball over. And we're on all these games. It's always one possession. So got to give credit to Daniel Jones. I know he's not the best. He is still kind of holding us back, but he's doing his job and he's keeping us in these games. So you got to give him credit. And yeah, the defense showed up. Sexy Dexter Lawrence had 3 sacks, and he leads the team in sacks with 6 sacks right now. So, but Kayvon just went down with a wrist injury, so he's now week to week. So we're gonna miss his production there. And then Brian Burns had a good game as well. And yeah, all in all, Giants look pretty good. They got the Bengals coming up on Sunday night. It's going to be another game that they need to find a way and claw out with a win if they want to keep their season hopes alive. But all in all, I was happy with it. And yeah, they surprised me and wanted to see your instant reaction to that game.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it quick. Same as you. I did not expect that. I thought Seattle being at home, that's a tough environment to play in. I thought Seattle would beat you guys, and especially missing your best player, Malik Neighbors, too. I didn't really think you guys had much of a shot. I thought Mike McDonald is a good defensive mind, and he has been a pretty good coach so far. So I don't want to downgrade him, degrade him a little bit, but I think he's been good. But I guess not so good this game. You said Daniel Jones looked good. I believe you there. He's looked pretty good since week 1, but I'll say Dallas was a little shaky. That performance was a little shaky too. Not his best. There was the deep ball wasn't there in that game, but yeah, I'll take your word for it. If they won, he had to have been a game manager, and it's by all accounts he did. They won. They did their thing, and yeah, it looks like the defensive line over the last couple of weeks have been finally showing up, and it's they're leading the league in sacks, and that doesn't surprise me when you have talent up there. So you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You should finish top 3 in sacks. So that's all good and well, man. So enjoy this win. Enjoy it. It's a big win. And as an Eagles fan, I'm not even sure if we can go into Seattle and beat them. So yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah, I will enjoy it. And I don't know if the Jets, I don't know if they're enjoying life right now. They just took a loss to the Vikings in London. They let Robert Saleh stay in London and they fired him. They got rid of him. They just couldn't take it anymore. They're done with the Robert Saleh experience. And what's crazy is they're fighting for first place in the division this week, going up against the Bills, and they're not giving Robert Saleh a chance to coach this team. That is crazy. That is wild. And now they're promoting the defensive coordinator. to the head coach for the time being. Forget his name off the top of my head,
It's like
but
Jeff Undlin, I think.
yeah, something along those lines. But instant reaction for me, I think Robert Saleh, I think his time was coming. Like I could just see it. Like Robert Saleh to me was not a good head football coach. He just wasn't a good leader of men. He's good at defense. He's good at doing that, but just controlling the whole team as a unit, they were just not a good team. They were not winning football games, and I know he's in control. And there's reports that he wanted to fire Nathaniel Hackett, going into this week. But before he could do that, he got canned himself. So now they're keeping Nathaniel Hackett, and now Robert Saleh is now on his way out. And yeah, I just think Robert Saleh, to me, I never liked him from the start. I never saw it. And I feel like they need to get a good offensive minded head coach in there when you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers that, could coach up or coach him up and have a great offense built around him. And you're trying to go all in with Aaron Rodgers, you should get an offensive guy. And Nathaniel Hackett, he's not that guy. He's just Rodgers' puppet. He's just a guy that for camaraderie in the locker room there. So, I saw this coming. I thought he was going to get fired eventually. I didn't think it was be as soon, but it sucks for Robert Saleh. I think he'll definitely pick up a job as a defensive coordinator somewhere else. He's a good defensive play caller for sure, but I just don't feel like he has the ability to be a head coach in this league right now. So that's my instant reaction. Wanted to hear yours.
Yeah, it is a little bit uncharacteristic and untraditional way of firing him after like 5 weeks, which is a little bit absurd. But honestly, uh, do you think you're going to win with Robert Saleh? No, I was bullish on the Jets. I thought they were going to win despite Robert Saleh. But and I have my questions. I think you made a great point with him not being a leader of men. And if you go back to his time as the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator, you could see him on the sideline. He was more energetic. He was more like positive, like outgoing, like cheering on the guys. And then you look at him and the Jets head coach, he doesn't like say 2 words. He's just to himself. And he doesn't carry that over, that same energy, that same charisma that he did just being a defensive coordinator. So it's all right. Not everyone's meant to be a head coach. And he's probably just that in that mold of not being a head coach, but being a really, really good defensive coordinator. There's no doubt that Jets have had a top 5 defense every time he's been there. So he has a hand in that. But yeah, Woody Johnson made this call himself. The front office, Joe Douglas and them, they were not informed. And even Aaron Rodgers was blindsided by it. So it looks like it was the owner that did it. Do I think Aaron Rodgers may have played a hand in it? A little bit. You could go back to that Thursday night game with, I think it was the New England game where they had this little awkward exchange on the sideline, if you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah, when they're
a
trying to like
couple
hug
weeks
each
ago.
other or whatever it was.
Yes, and then there was an instance in the Broncos game where they could have won, and Robert Saleh was said post game that Aaron Rodgers goes into cadences, right, where he tries
Yeah.
to draw the defense offside. He's like, I don't. Maybe we should just cut the cadences and make it easier on the O line. And Rodgers like, well, that's one way to do it, but we just need to rep it more. We need to practice it more. It works. And you go back to Green Bay, it works. The defense, even the most disciplined defensive linemen, they still would jump. So it's not. It's just the offensive line getting used to that and training there. So I feel like there's differences in philosophy and disagreements. So I do think Rodgers had a small part, even though he was reported blindsided. I know he went on Pat McAfee today. I did not get a chance to look at what he said. But yeah, I think he had a little part into it, despite the reports from Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do think Nathaniel Hackett is a bit of a problem, too. I do think they're not handing the ball in that Vikings game in the last 2 weeks. Of course, it's correlated to me trading for him too, but they don't go to Brees Hall. And they got Braylon Allen up back there too, that are really nice running backs. They don't pound the ball enough with them, which could help Rodgers in the pass game even more. So I don't get that. So I think Nathaniel Hackett's still a problem. And for right now, his job was safe, but Saleh was looking to fire him before obviously he was let go. So there's a hot seat for Nathaniel Hackett to turn it around. So this was a move to compete with the Bills. They think they got a shot, and realistically, they do have a shot. I do think they still got a defense. Maybe you get Devontae Adams in. I don't know. We'll see. But I just looked it up. Jeff Ulbrich will be the head coach. That's his name. So we'll see what he does. I think he's a former player, so it might be a fresh change, a fresh new voice, and maybe it'll have like an Antonio Pierce effect, maybe where they just start playing harder, playing better. Maybe we'll see that with them. But yeah, it was a little bit off guard, off the rails. So, and maybe let's say like the Eagles lose to the Browns, maybe Sirianni gets canned. Maybe this starts a little. If teams are not
Well,
performing well
trend.
now, yeah, it's like okay, now it's like a domino effect. Maybe more head coaches will fall during the season now, as opposed to waiting till the regular season's over at least. So, yeah, interesting stuff there for sure. But we'll see if they could turn around the season now. The New York Jets can.
I have another question. Do you think they would go ahead and hire in the middle of the season a Mike Vrabel, bring in a Bill Belichick? You think that's on the table, or you think that's canned?
I don't think so because that's a whole entire new scheme. It's a whole new terminology, and you don't have training camp for it. So it's a lot to put on the players there. And it's also the coaches doesn't know how to put his players to fit his scheme the right way. So you need that off season. That off season is crucial for yeah. So
Yeah.
they could bring him in, but Belichick might be like, hey, I don't have guys on defense that could run this scheme. And, I don't like
Yeah,
Nathaniel
it'd be
Hackett.
hard.
I'm going to fire him and I'm going to bring Josh McDaniels in midseason. So Rodgers has to learn a whole new playbook
Yeah.
midseason. He's not going to, if Belichick gets in, he's not going to hold on to Nathaniel Hackett. He's going to try to get
Yeah,
McDaniels in
that's the
there.
thing. It's hard to, adjust like on the fly if you bring in one of those guys. Cause yeah, it's a whole totally different scheme and everything. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think that happens.
No, it, you
Just wanted just wanted to throw it out there.
you just
See.
got to ride with him. I could see a situation where Hackett gets fired, and then they could promote the quarterback coach or someone on the offensive side to be the new play caller there. So we'll
Yeah.
see. I can see that, but other than that, they're going to ride with Jeff Ulbrich for the rest of the year.
Now they'll hire Ben McAdoo because he has familiarity with Rodgers, so that might happen. I know he's available. I know he's sitting on the couch somewhere. um,
We'll see.
we'll see. I don't think that happens, but who knows? You never know.
Yeah,
Enough with the Jets.
this caught us
Enough
off
with
guard. So yeah,
enough
maybe
with the
that happens.
Giants. Enough with New York. Let's transition over to New Orleans. So they played Monday night. They didn't have a great game. They lost to the Chiefs. We all thought that was going to happen. But, in the middle of that, they lost their starting quarterback, Derek Carr, to, I believe, a oblique injury. And
Yeah,
now
yes.
and now he's out for multiple weeks. And now Spencer Rattler, the rookie quarterback, is taking
Uh-oh.
over. And that should be interesting. I don't know what he will bring to the table. I don't know how much the offense he knows. We will see. I don't know if he's NFL ready yet. The Saints took a chance on him. He kind of fell in the draft. But right off the bat, I just think, it's kind of going to be a problem for the Saints, and it's going to hinder their season trying to compete for the division. So I feel like, yeah, it's kind of sad to see Derek Carr go down because, like, the Clint Kubiak offense, it was clicking the first few weeks, but, it kind of slowed down here in the last 3 games. I believe they lost the last 3 games, right? They're on a
They're 2
3-game
and
losing
3.
streak. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so much for my take for them being contenders this year. They fell to pretenders real quick. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see much of a spark with Spencer Rattler. I could be wrong, but hoping for the best for the kid, rookie quarterback, wants to earn a name for himself and prove all the doubters wrong. Should have been drafted earlier. So this is a great opportunity for him to take over and make a name for himself. Want to see what you thought about this decision?
Yeah, so obviously they had a hot start, but before the season I had a bold take that Derek Carr would get replaced by Spencer Rattler just to see what they have there. So the injury is unfortunate for Derek Carr. I thought he played pretty well, but I felt like ever since week 3 when the Eagles played, he hasn't been the same. A little bit of a blueprint was put out there, get pressure, and Derek Carr is not. And if you give Derek Carr time, he'll kill you. But if you give pressure, he's a totally different quarterback. So I think that blueprint's out on him, and that's why teams have had more success, like the Chiefs. The Chiefs were getting home on him all night long, so they brought pressure. And same with the Falcons too. Even though that was a better offensive showing, they couldn't capitalize and get the job done. That was more of a mistake saying too there. So yeah, what I think about it, it's unfortunate for Derek Carr, and I don't know how much longer he has as a starting quarterback now, because I think we could see a situation where the Saints pivot and they might go quarterback in the draft potentially, maybe. But I think right now it could be a blessing to see, just to see what you have with Spencer Rattler. There was a quote today from Olavi that said he balled well. He played well during training camp, and he's excited to work with him, play with him. That just came out today. So yeah, everyone's gonna be tuning in to see what Spencer Rattler does. The rookie quarterbacks in general, like Caleb Williams and Bo Nix, and obviously my boy Jaden motherfucking Daniels has been balling. They're balling. They're turning around. So maybe Rattler gets a little bit of juice, a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see. I think it's a good opportunity for him to see if he could be maybe a franchise guy for the Saints. But if not, Derek Carr's days may be numbered, and they may go quarterback at some point in this draft. So
Yeah,
that's what I think about it.
I didn't really think about that. I know he's on like a 4-year deal, signed back last year. So I don't know what the guaranteed money's looking like, if they can move off of him after 2 years and not take much of a cap hit, like kind of what the
Yeah,
Giants did with Jones. I don't know if they're in that boat, but
right.
yeah, I think.
Well, yeah.
What were we gonna
Well,
say?
I was going to say, well, you paid Kirk Cousins $50 million, but you still drafted Michael Penix. So if Spencer Rattler comes in and completely shits the bed, then there is a possibility round 1, round 2, they get a quarterback and they have him sit behind Derek Carr for a bit until he picks it up, and then they insert him at some point. So it's
That
not out
could
of the realm
definitely
of
happen.
possibility if they're doing it with Kirk Cousins, who's the better quarterback and just got paid this offseason. So it's not
Yeah,
out of the question.
yeah, kind of pull like an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes type deal as well. So let's talk about the
Yeah.
same division here. Let's keep in the same division. Let's talk about the Falcons pulling off the upset there over the Bucks on Thursday night. Talk about Mr. Kirk O'Chains having over 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and I dropped him in fantasy the the day I acquired him, and he balled out. So that's on me. Over 30 plus fantasy points. It is what it is. But yeah, you got to give the Falcons credit when credit's due. And Drake London looked great in this game. The offense was humming. Kyle Pitts was actually getting involved. Another guy I moved off on. And Bijan, he's still kind of, not the greatest right now. They still got to find a way to incorporate him more in the offense. But I feel like time will come and he'll, get the reps and get the offensive production there. But yeah, they found a way to win this game, and the Falcons are finding ways to win. I don't know if
Mhm.
they're going to be a heavy favorite in the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to be the division winner, but right now they're finding ways to win. They should have lost the Eagles game, but they found a way to win because Saquon dropped that ball. And this game, they looked like they were out of it. And, Kirk Cousins threw that pick, but, the defense held up and he got the ball back. He moved right down the field and they won that game. So, I don't know who's going to win this division. It's up for grabs right now, but you got to say the Falcons are in contention. I had them as my projected division winner. Still feel like it's on the table for sure. But yeah, this was a promising win for them. And, their season, looks good so far. And they could easily win this division. Want to turn over to you. What do you think about the game?
Yeah, so I just want to follow up with one of the last points you said. You and I both had them finishing first, and that was like Tampa second. So that situation is still very much in play too. I could see it being one of them, either or. It might be a little swap, but Yeah, I think that absolutely plays off. But it was a great game. It was much more high scoring than I thought it was going to be. Baker Mayfield's playing really good football. I got to give him credit. Mike Evans had a good game again. He's starting to get in the rhythm, and yeah, getting him and Chris Godwin and even Sterling Shepard's getting a little bit revived
Yeah,
too.
I love to see young Shep
So
out there performing. Respect my man.
yeah, so I gotta give that offense credit. Yeah, it wasn't the even though Raheem Morris and Todd Bowles are both defensive minded and they're good coordinators, wasn't their best showing on the defensive side. Now I know they're both probably not calling the plays or calling the plays into their linebacker. Their guys calling the plays, so they're not really doing that. But still, I don't think the game plan was all that well. If Kirk Cousins throwing for 500 yards, there's that's a problem there. But yeah, I gotta give credit to their offensive coordinators. I know Zach Robinson's the guy in Atlanta. He's doing well there. I like what he's doing. Kirk Cousins is playing well. Drake London is finally getting a resurgence, looking well, looking why he was a first round pick a couple seasons ago. Happy for him. And yeah, Bijan, I agree with you. He needs to be more incorporated. I still think they used Tyler Algier a little too much. And what really irked me in that game when I watched it was they would hand it out to Algier, and every time he ran it, I kid you not, it was a 1 yard gain. I'm like, why is he in this game? You have maybe the most talented running back in the league in your backfield, and you're not using him enough. So I'm not concerned with Bijan. I think he'll get it going. I think he's one of the most talented running backs in the league for sure. I think it's only a matter of time till he just pops off in one game, and that's all she wrote. And less Tyler Algier carries. He just needs that one breakout there. But credit to him. And Darnell Mooney looks good too. So I gotta give credit to Zach Robinson, Kirk Cousins, and crew on offense. And yeah, and on the Tampa Bay side too. So Dave Canales obviously goes. He's now the head coach of Carolina. And I forget their offensive coordinator's name, but first time play caller. He's only called a few games. And he's got them boys cooking. Baker Mayfield is balling. Like I said, Mike Evans is balling. And yeah, I just want to shout him out, give him credit. He's doing a really nice job. But the difference in this game in particular was they handed it off to Bucky Irving and Jesse Bates being the all pro on defense. He punched it out there. If and the Buccaneers were in clock control, clock management. They're trying to run some clock, and Jesse Bates makes a clutch play, and they end up going down the field and tying it. And yeah, and they ended up winning in overtime. So big time performance there. It's gonna come down. I think this division is gonna come down to the wire. Going to be one of the. We're gonna have to wait till like one of the last weeks for it to play itself out and find out who's the champ of the NFC South. But one of the best games all week, and there was a fun Thursday night game for once, which I was excited about. So
It
yeah, those are my
was.
initial thoughts.
Yeah, and the name of that coordinator, just looked up, Liam Cohen, was on that Rams staff
Yeah,
with
he's
Raheem
good.
Morris, and he was also a part of the Kentucky staff as well, was the offensive coordinator there. So, yeah, he's doing a great job.
He's doing good with
Start
Tampa.
out the season, and got to give him credit. But yeah, let's transition over to a different topic. Let's switch over to the AFC side of things. We'll talk about that Texans Bills game a little bit. Talk about
Let's
that
do it.
little post game exchange that went down. So yeah, after the game, after the Texans went down and beat the Buffalo Bills, um, Josh Allen and Diggs, they reunited there at the end, and Diggs kind of gave him that little side eye, and was like, I don't really like you anymore. I kind of hate you. Does Diggs hate Josh Allen? That is the question I need to ask you. What do you
Ooh.
think?
Yeah, I do think something happened there. I don't know. I can't speak on personally what their differences are, but if you remember a week or two ago, Josh Allen said, I think it was after they whooped the Jaguars. They're like every receiver doesn't care and complain about targets. They just go out there and they play. And he said that, and then later he denied that he was talking about Diggs and kind of like shitting on him, so to speak. It was he was just building up his guys, and I think there was something there with maybe Diggs complaining. He's an emotional guy on the sideline, and
He's
I
a little
remember
diva.
Yeah, and a lot of alpha receivers are, and you can even point to times where he'll go to McDermott, he'll yell about not being involved, and him going to like Gabe Davis, Khalil Shakir, and Dawson Knox and Kincaid, and even at the end of the year, he kind of got left out a little bit. So I do think it was something with the Bills, and maybe he was mad at Josh Allen not getting the ball. But personally, I don't know if there's anything that happened between the two there, but yeah, I do think there's a little bit of disdain to put it. Maybe it's something that could work out over time. I know time heals everything, but yeah, and it was just in that game, you could tell he wanted to win. And I think the Bills wanted to win too, and showed that Stephon Diggs what he left. But yeah, it was a close game. Thought to the end, but the Texans edged it out. So credit to Houston for the win. But yeah, I gotta I gotta say there is a little bit of disdain there. So I I wonder if it's just more than just not getting the touches, if it's more just a personal issue. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out over time. But yeah, and hopefully they can sort it out in the future sometime.
Yeah, because they had a great connection there in Buffalo, one of the best quarterback receiver tandems in the league for those few years that, they were playing together. Yeah, I
Mhm.
believe, Diggs has a bad taste in his mouth, has a little chip on his shoulder. So just feel like, he was just trying to like brush it off. Josh Allen, seeing him again. And I bet they haven't been talking as of late because now he's got his new friend there in C.J. Stroud. So he doesn't
Mhm.
care about Josh Allen at the moment. But I feel like a year from now or whenever they retire, they'll talk again. Like remember
Yeah.
those days back in Buffalo. So
There
yeah,
there was a mic'd up moment. I think it was a Thanksgiving game day in like Detroit, and Stephon Diggs was mic'd up, and he went over to Josh Allen. He's like, "Man, I love you," and they're like, "Oh, I love you too." And it
yeah,
was like a big bromance, and now it's like, "Oh, yeah, hey, what's up?
yeah. It's
I
because
actually hate you."
Yeah, it's because he
So
got his new quarterback now, so that's why he's like, I don't need you anymore. I got C.J. Stroud. He's the new top 10 quarterback in the league, so
for sure, for
that's
sure.
that's what it is. But now he's got a bigger role now with Nico Collins being out of the lineup. He's got a hamstring placed on IR, so yeah, expect a bigger role for Diggs, and I think he will be more productive now since he does have that chip on his shoulder there. But yeah, I think the Texans they'll be fine. I feel like the offense might slow down in production a little bit, and we'll have to have guys step up like Diggs, a Tank Dell. Hopefully, Joe Mixon can get back in the lineup healthy. And yeah, I think they'll be just fine. But yeah, Josh Allen, the Bills, they got a big test this week, see if they can win against those New York Jets because it is for first place in the division. And now, with Robert Saleh not being there, they got an interim head coach. There's a lot more on the table, and they should win that game, right? You would think they would win that game, but who knows? But let's turn it over to another contender that we think could, hoist up the Lombardi trophy. And it's kind of concerning right there in San Francisco. The 49ers, they blew a big lead against the Cardinals. And yeah, they're not looking good. They're 2-3. They got some guys banged up. Christian McCaffrey's still out. Don't know when he's coming back with that Achilles tendonitis. And Justin, what's your thoughts
Mm.
on these Niners? Are they going to be
Uh,
okay? Are they going to rebound or are they screwed?
Oh, injuries do have to play a part of it, I will admit, but most of those injuries are on the offensive side of the ball, and that's not really where my concern is. I think Purdy's still playing pretty well. He's doing his thing. I think he's playing fine, and Kittle's been good. Jordan Mason's been filling in nice. So, yeah, I know McCaffrey's the best running back in the league, but Mason's been very adequate running back too. So, I know I know for sure that they're fine there. That's obvious. And Debo's not back. He'll get more ingratiated and he'll be more of the focal point going forward. So the offense will be fine. The defense, though, is a concern. Yes, you lose Javon Hargrave. I know that's a loss, but relatively you're healthy across the board. And you have a lead going into the second half, and you just crumble, and that's on the defense, I think, man. If you go back that Rams game, you should have won. You get the Niners offense put up enough points. The defense did not hold on. You could point to multiple instances where that happened this year. The Vikings game is another game they lost. They struggled collectively in that game. I'm not going to put that one all on defense. Offense didn't play their best up to par in that one. But the defense is just not holding on to the leads. They're not making it hard. It's pretty rough sledding there for the defensive side. So for that reason, it's not looking like a championship level defense that they had last year, the year prior even. So I'm for that reason I don't know if they finished first in the conference like I had them. I don't know if they make it to the conference championship until further notice, even though the NFC is pretty wide open right now. But yeah, I'm starting to get more and more out on them just because of the defense. But yeah, and hey, a certain man was just fired. That was a pretty
I was literally about to ask you that.
that was a pretty good DC. I don't know if this happens mid-year, like we were saying on the Jets talk, but
For defensive coordinators, it could.
maybe down the line, maybe
I
it
feel
can.
like with defensive coordinators, it could definitely happen more than a head coach because, defense,
It could.
not much of a change. You saw what the Bills did last year. They fired, what was it, Ken Dorsey, and brought in Joe Brady.
Yeah.
So we saw that with the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Joe Brady was
I
on
think he was already
staff,
on the
though.
roster, though.
Yeah,
He was already on the
that's
staff.
the thing.
He was already on the staff. But,
They changed
Robert Saleh.
philosophy, but yeah.
Robert Saleh has some familiarity with the Niners already. He's coached pretty much the same roster there on defense, especially with the linebackers and everything, Fred Warner and company. So Nick Bosa, too. So, it could be a plug and play for defensive coordinator Robert Saleh coming back in. So that could definitely be on the table. Wouldn't be surprised if that does happen if the Niners continue to lose. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that. I feel like that could easily happen. So
I know after the game there were some Niners fans calling for the firing of Kyle Shanahan. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction.
Yeah,
there.
you gotta calm down.
I get it. Maybe the offense could have put up more points to help, but your defense got to hold on there.
Yeah.
So
Shanahan should not be fired. That would be stupid.
The last 2 weeks where you lost, like the Rams was a bad loss. That was on your defense. And this one, especially blowing both of them was on your defense too. So yeah, but Kyle Shanahan has a problem with clock management because he is calling plays. So when you call plays, you kind of sacrifice your ability to manage time and to manage the clock. So maybe he was throwing the ball when he should have ran it. He wasn't aware of the time and the clock. So I mentioned that. And I think that's my only criticism of him. He should be more aware of that. Or he needs, if he's going to continue to call plays, he needs a coach managing the time, say, hey, call timeout here. I think we should call more run play. Like help him manage the clock, if that makes sense. I think that's what the Niners need to focus on with helping Kyle out there. But it's mostly on the defense. The defense got to play better. You got all elite talent. Fred Warner's one of the best middle linebackers. Got elite edge rusher. Nick Bosa still there, and man, they still got a good defense. It's just they just stink right now. I don't know. The defense
it's not
stinks.
about how you start, though, right? We talked about it's how you finish.
How you finish. It's time to turn it around.
It's time to turn around.
That's why I'm not completely out because there's still room. There's still room to go.
Yeah, I'm not completely out on them. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll bounce back and they'll figure things out. They're just dealing with the injury bug, and maybe they bring in Robert Saleh. Who knows?
We'll see.
But let's turn it over to our last topic, and let's talk about Deshaun Watson and these Cleveland Browns. So Deshaun Watson has not looked good to start the year. They have what? One win? I believe it's one win. They're 1-4.
Yeah, it was against Jacksonville week 2.
Jacksonville.
Yes,
and they just have not looked great. They've lost to the Commanders. They've lost to the Giants. They lost to who else? I'm blanking.
They lost to the Commanders. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Raiders.
The Raiders. How do you lose the Raiders? How do you do that? So,
yeah,
I don't know what it is with the Browns. I think it's time. Should Deshaun Watson get benched? What do you think? I think it's time. I believe, they paid this man all his money. He doesn't have the will to play anymore. Like, he just doesn't have that talent he had, that will to play like he had Houston Texans, winning a playoff game, looking like a top 5 quarterback back with the Texans. I believe having that year off with his allegations there hurt him and hurt his career. And now that he earned the
Mhm.
bag, he got that guaranteed money. He just doesn't have that will to be, a great quarterback in this league anymore, and just has not been good. And I feel like to spark something with this team, because this is a very talented roster for sure. You got a good offensive line when healthy. You do
They're
have
not
Nick Chubb
healthy.
coming back. You do have Nick Chubb coming back eventually. You have Amari Cooper, one of the best receivers in the league, but he might be on his way out. And Jerry Jeudy just brought in David Njoku. He's a top 10 tight end. The defense is one of the best in the league, and they just have not been playing up to par. So I feel like to spark this team, you throw in Jameis Winston, give him a shot, former number 1 overall
Mhm.
pick. I feel like it's time. How about you?
I just wish it was that easy, to be completely honest with you. It's different than Derek Carr. It's different than Kirk Cousins a little bit too. But I'll keep it to Derek Carr. It's more similar in this case. The guarantee Deshaun Watson has a fully guaranteed contract, which is nuts. So no matter what, he's guaranteed that money. He's going to guarantee all that $200+ million right there, which is massive. That's absolutely huge. So at the same time, you want to play it slow. You don't want to give up on him. And you pointed it out, the offensive line is really banged up. He has not a lot of time to throw. And no Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is really, he's a top 10 running back, you could say, when he's healthy. He's really, really good. He's a solid running back. So that hurts too. You know, needing him back there. You need him back there for sure. And I think Stefanski loves to play action, even though they're not doing it as much. I think getting Nick Chubb back, you open up the play action. But you need a healthy old line to do that. But my point is that could help Deshaun Watson play better too. And, the defense is relatively good for the most part. He got great talent. Jim Schwartz is a good DC. And yeah, I don't think the Browns will have a bad roster talent wise, but I get what you're saying. If you look at last year, Joe Flacco came in. Deshaun Watson played relatively all right, but he went down with an injury. And then Joe Flacco came in and they looked even better. So I get what you're saying there, too. So maybe Jameis Winston can have a similar impact, a similar spark. The team plays harder. Maybe Amari Cooper plays a little bit better. He's not as inconsistent. So, yeah, and even Jerry Judy's there too. So maybe Winston will help the passing offense. In Tampa, he threw for a lot of yards, and the downfall with him was he threw for yards, he threw for touchdowns, but he threw a lot of interceptions at the same time. So you get a game where he throws for 303 touchdowns, but you fall that with 2 to 3 interceptions. So it was a sustainable level of play, but yeah, what it's just tough. I think you got to ride. I'm not ready to change yet. I think you got to just play it out, maybe get a little bit healthy to get a better assessment of him. But yeah, it's getting more and more to that point though. So, but for now, I'm just gonna say for now, keep Deshaun Watson in there and just see, get healthy. And if he still stinks, then I think it's time to give Jameis a shot just to see.
So how many chances you getting him? Like, when would be the time to bench him?
Well, the season's they're not winning that division, so the season's probably already over. So you have nothing to play for, in my opinion. So I think you can keep him out there as long as you want until you're like, okay, this guy's not doesn't have it, and then you can throw in Jameis out there, and then yeah, they could be a team looking for a rookie quarterback to bring in and have Deshaun Watson
Yet
play.
again.
Yeah, you have Deshaun Watson play out this contract, and you have an understudy watching and learning from him. So that could definitely happen. You could take more of a project kind of player, not someone like a Shadur Sanders, a Jackson Dart that are ready to play right away, ready to play right now. You get more of a project that has a lot of upside at quarterback to let him sit, grow, learn the Stefanski scheme, and then eventually get inserted as a starting quarterback. So we'll see if that happens.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
my thoughts.
I agree with your points there. I just think it's time. I feel like Browns fans are tired of it. They just want to win. They've been in quarterback hell for years, and Deshaun
Hmm.
Watson has not changed that. And they're still looking for a starting quarterback that can take them over the hump so they can hoist up that Lombardi trophy. And Deshaun Watson, he's just not the guy for me. He's just not the guy. And I feel like sparked this team as we saw with Joe Flacco last year. You insert Jameis Winston in the lineup, people rally with Jameis Winston, and I feel like that would,
Yeah.
create a spark in the locker room. So I feel like Deshaun Watson loses this week, I would pull the plug on him and roll in Jameis Winston. That's what I would do. But
Yeah. I
who
got I got
knows?
you.
Who knows what happens? But I feel like we can end off the episode there. It's been a jam-packed episode. Recapped week 5. Talked about all the drama this week with Robert Saleh, Stephon Diggs, and all that jazz. But if you guys did enjoy this episode, drop a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We would really appreciate it. Go follow our socials as well. We got a link tree down below with all our social medias on there. And we're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can listen there as well. And any final thoughts, Justin, before we end off this podcast today?
Oh man, looking forward to week 6. I'm looking forward to being back here next week with more exciting topics, and hopefully we get a little trade with Devontae Adams to talk about. I'm really hoping
Yeah.
that could get resolved.
Might get a
And we have a
Schefter
fun thing to talk about.
bomb here in the next week, and maybe we'll do a live reaction to it. We'll see. But hopefully,
We'll see.
guys,
Maybe when
stay
we
tuned. Stay tuned. Follow our socials. Drop a like. Subscribe, and we'll catch you guys later. BenchWire.
out.